They Will Kill You, Why Movies Keep Showing Rich Cults Killing the Poor. Let me ask you something before we even start this story tonight. If money erased consequences, what darkness would come to light? If you had billions stacked higher than skyscrapers in Dubai, would boredom eventually push you towards something darker to try? History tells us wealth buys islands, power, influence, and control, but sometimes it also buys the ability to hide what corrupts the soul. And that question, uncomfortable, chilling, and painfully true, is exactly what the new film They Will Kill You dares to pursue. Because lately Hollywood keeps whispering the same strange clue. Stories about rich elites hunting ordinary people like prey in a zoo. First there was Ready or Not, where billionaires chase a bride through a mansion's maze. Then The Hunt, where wealthy conspirators turn humans into targets for sport and craze. Now films like Blink Twice, Hunted, and They Will Kill You join the parade of taboo, each asking the same disturbing question that refuses to leave our view. Why do these stories keep appearing again and again in Hollywood's queue? Are they just horror entertainment for a Friday night movie review? Or reflections of deeper fears society doesn't quite know how to pursue? Because once you step inside the world of They Will Kill You, the message becomes painfully clear. The rich aren't just powerful in this story, they're predators disguised as peers. The film follows a woman named Asia, who takes a simple cleaning job for revenue inside a Manhattan high-rise building called The Virgil, polished like luxury through and through. At first, the halls glow with chandeliers and penthouse views, the kind of place where billionaires sip wine while discussing stocks and political interviews. But beneath the marble floors and velvet decor lies a darker truth to construe. A secret cult of elites performing rituals to keep their power renewed. And the way they do it? By hunting people. By sacrificing those without wealth, influence, or social value. Asia learns too late that the job she accepted was never meant to help her get through. She was hired because she was chosen as the night's ritual offering too. Now imagine discovering that truth alone in a hallway at 2, when masked strangers suddenly appear carrying knives aimed straight at you. In that moment, the movie stops feeling fictional or absurdly askew and starts tapping into something ancient humanity has always feared might be true. Because historically, the idea of elites hunting humans isn't brand new. In 1924, a wealthy thrill-seeker named Count Zaroff was imagined in the story The Most Dangerous Game, pursuing men through the jungle for pleasure and view. That story shocked readers because the concept felt disturbingly plausible to construe. A bored aristocrat seeking excitement no animal hunt could ever renew. Decades later, journalists began reporting strange rumors whispered quietly through. Stories of private islands, secret societies, and gatherings the public never knew. Fast forward to the real-world scandal involving Jeffrey Epstein, whose private island drew global attention and review. Court documents, testimony, and investigative reporting revealed a network of powerful individuals tied to abuse allegations that many people still struggle to process as true. While no credible evidence proves elites hunting people as literal sport is something elites do. The scandal fueled widespread suspicion about what powerful circles might hide from public view. Major outlets, including the New York Times, BBC, and The Guardian, documented the reach of Epstein's connections and influence through and through. The result? A public imagination suddenly asking darker questions than it ever used to pursue. And Hollywood noticed that fear too, which brings us back to They Will Kill You and the brutal night Asia must fight through, because once the cult reveals itself inside the Virgil building's upper floors in view, the movie erupts into a violent survival battle that never lets the tension subdue. Masked elites chase her through hallways like wolves, hunting prey across morning dew, their rituals echoing through corridors as the panic begins to accrue. But Asia refuses to become the victim they assumed she'd be in their ritual queue. Instead, she grabs weapons and turns the building into a battlefield few cultists survive through. Shotguns thunder like storms, breaking across a midnight sky of blue. Axes swing like Viking raids, crashing into a penthouse rendezvous. One scene explodes with a flaming axe carving through cultists 2 by 2, each strike lighting the room like torches in a medieval coup. Another moment shows bodies crashing through tables as the chaos grew, blood spraying across marble floors like crimson paint in a museum debut. The violence is exaggerated, absurd, almost operatic in its view. Yet the underlying idea remains disturbingly grounded in truth. Because the movie isn't just about action choreography and cinematic kung fu. It's about power. Power so extreme it begins to detach from human empathy and moral virtue. Think about real history for a moment or two. Roman emperors once staged gladiator battles where crowds watched men fight lions for public revenue. Aristocrats in ancient societies sometimes treated life itself as disposable property to subdue. Even modern billionaire playgrounds sometimes spark curiosity about what the ultra-rich might pursue. Private islands, hidden retreats, exclusive parties the public never sees in the nightly news. Hollywood takes those anxieties and exaggerates them into horror you can visually construe. Stories where wealth becomes so extreme, it turns boredom into something monstrous and cruel. Which is why They Will Kill You resonates more deeply than its violent surface might first let through. Because beneath the gore and cult robes and supernatural ritual taboo, the film asks a chilling philosophical question directed straight at you. What happens when power removes consequences completely from view? When money buys silence, influence, and secrecy too? Would humanity still behave the same way it always knew? Or would some individuals cross lines they once believed they'd never pursue? Movies like Ready or Not, Blink Twice, and The Hunt all echo that same haunting avenue. Stories where the wealthy treat human lives like entertainment to review. And while these stories exaggerate reality for dramatic revenue, they also mirror society's growing mistrust of concentrated power. Few people control, but many feel subdued. Because when scandals involving elites dominate headlines year after year in the news, public imagination begins filling in the shadows with stories both terrifying and askew. Which brings us back to Asia, inside the Virgil Building's labyrinthine venue. Because the cult believed wealth made them untouchable and immune from moral review. But they never expected the sacrifice they chose would fight harder than they knew. Floor by floor, she dismantles their ritual like a revolution breaking through, turning their sacred ceremony into a massacre they never saw coming into view. And by the time the final confrontation erupts beneath the penthouse moon, the hunters realize the prey they selected might actually destroy their entire cult's debut. It's brutal. It's chaotic. It's violent in ways horror fans will cheer and critics might misconstrue. But the real reason people leave theaters talking about They Will Kill You isn't just the carnage they view, it's the idea behind it too. The unsettling thought that power without accountability could corrupt anyone it passes through. Because whether you believe these elite hunting narratives reflect real fears or fictional allegory exaggerated for revenue, one thing remains undeniably true. Stories about the powerful abusing the powerless keep appearing again and again in Hollywood's queue, and every time another movie like this appears in theaters for audiences to review, people start asking the same uncomfortable question they once tried to subdue. Why does this theme keep coming back in stories we consume? Is it just entertainment or a reflection of anxiety society still struggles to pursue? And if you suddenly found yourself trapped in a building where the wealthy decided you were the sacrifice they'd choose, what would you do? Would you run? Would you hide? Or would you fight your way through? Because inside the world of They Will Kill You, there's only one brutal truth. When the rich decide the poor are expendable and power becomes their worldview, the only way to survive the hunt is to become the hunter too.